Makes you wanna go. Makes you wanna go. Na 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 na. Makes you wanna go.
Hey. How's everybody? Hey, co-host Mickey G, how are you today?
Hey, I'm excited about today. This is
Yes,
it's a new
yes,
day.
yes, yes,
It's a new
yes.
day.
Yes,
Yeah,
this is our 30-second episode. So every day is a new day and a blessing to be for real, for
absolutely.
real. You know
Yes.
what? I want to thank you for taking the time out to come see us today and visit with us. Well, everybody that's watching to come see Mickey G and I today. We are so happy we have made it through 32 episodes of Gab with Goldnbronze. And we are so glad that you stopped in on the 32nd day to see what we are talking about today. Whew, Lordy, that music makes me want to go, I'm hyped
Every
up and
time.
ready to go. Glad to see another blessing day.
That's
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
That's right.
Okay, I want to tell everybody that we are sponsors of Gab with Golden Bronze. Excuse me, we are Gab with Golden Bronze. We are sponsors of Golden Swan Cadre, which is a domestic 501c3 nonprofit organization that advocates against domestic violence towards women, but also for women's health issues. Not only that, we advocate for maternity health, mental health, self-care, and mindfulness. And we are sponsors and collaborate with domestic violence centers around Texas. When they have people that are discharged from their facilities, they will refer them to us and we'll help them from that point forward with their single family journeys, head of household, by adopting a room, furnishing their room and their needs list. And we also support the domestic violence centers with their health needs, as well as local recreational centers in middle to low class, low status income neighborhoods with candy for Halloween, Easter baskets for Easter, Christmas gifts for Christmas, items for Thanksgiving, and whatever it is that they request of us, we try to provide that to them. So we need your help in doing that. We solicit anything from $1 on up to be able to assist these people. We are partially self-funded, so we do need assistance with the rest of the funds, and we appreciate your assistance. Oh, Lordy, that was a mouthful, but that's what we're all about. We do a lot. And I
Yes,
forgot
ma'am.
to mention for everybody, we also peer-to-peer with victims once they leave the center. We do whatever it is they need emotionally as far as supporting them and giving them advice and just telling them about our journey and how we persevered. So we do that as well. We have grandchildren and a lot of them game, and so we wanted to talk about gaming today. So our topic today is really called Game On. Does violent gaming influence behavior? Well, the link between video games, and behavior problems in kids has been a topic of extensive debate amongst researchers, parents, and policy makers long before we decided to talk about it. So while some studies suggest a correlation between violent gaming and increased aggression or desensitization to violence, the evidence is mixed, and many experts believe the impact is not as straightforward as most people think. A few of those points that researchers make are aggression versus real world violence. Some studies have found that violent video games may increase short-term aggression, thoughts, feelings, or behaviors. However, there is a little consistent evidence that they cause long-term violent or criminal behavior. So they're saying there's little evidence that it causes long-term effects, but society shows differently. What do you think about that?
Oh, this is a loaded topic, in my opinion. I'm mostly concerned about younger people and the video games and the blur between reality and fantasy. You know, especially if the characters look real and they're shooting these people or whatever, and the goriness happens. I don't want to get too explicit. The
Mhm.
goriness happens, but it doesn't scare them after a while. They just
Right.
keep doing it repetitiously, and the more you see it, the more relaxed you get. It's just, oh, I just shot 12 people. Oh, I killed that guy over
Oh,
there.
wow.
But they could be saying that in the game, but how sensitive are they when they come out of the game? That's kind of a concern. Even in these developing minds, they're not adults yet, and they're still in their reasoning and strategizing part of their life in their development. So I am kind of concerned about that.
Yeah, you know what? They do say a lot of these kids go out and they try to emulate what they see on these games, even if it's like the ones that are where they drive real recklessly out in the
Right.
community and stuff like that. What they see on the game is not reality. Like they
Mm,
may flip a car on the game and then get up and walk away. In
yeah.
reality, that's not going to happen at all. So,
Mm,
and then, like you say, causing harm to other people, I agree with you. They
yeah.
think that this is the way that society should be, when in fact, it's far from it.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of worried about that a little because my grandson, when he's not in school, not at basketball practice, not with family, he's in his room on those games.
Right.
So I agree with you like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It's it's a little scary. I mean, when you think about it, what are they absorbing? What is it doing to them? I wonder sometimes about that.
all right. Well, guess what? We'll talk about it when we come right back.
All
Thank
right.
you. We'll be right back.
Okay.
So, everybody, I think that we had an overlap, and my co host was about to say something before we started talking. I'm going to give her that opportunity, and then we'll get back on to topic.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm concerned about how when these children see something in fantasy, and like you were saying, they want to take it out in reality. It doesn't hurt anyone on the video game. It hurts these characters that are not even real. But when they take a car and drive it fast, because I had a guy pass me on the right, and he was almost about to hit a bridge, and he had a fast Dodge Charger or something, and he just zoomed it around me. And I mean, we were very close to having a collision because I was coming off the light, and I thought, why is this person driving this fast down this city street? It's just, it wasn't the
Mhm.
highway. So I wonder if things like that, they don't think about the consequences, how it can hurt someone. They don't think about the fact that this is reality, or even, kids with guns at school. They're just, they shut them up on the video game. So it's nothing different when it's people, but these are real people that you're affecting. You could be driving fast and mow down a whole family. And especially if you're young, you don't know how to control a car that well yet. So all those things kind of come to play for me.
Right. Well, what I was wanting is I want to divert to the beginning, everybody. I did not hear that she was getting ready to say something when I started off the show. So when we took our break, I did apologize to her because technically we had a lapse, and that happens sometimes. So I did say to her, oh, I apologize for that, to give her an opportunity to say what you wanted to say in the beginning when
Oh,
I
okay.
inadvertently cut you off. So go
Oh,
ahead and say what you were
okay.
going to
No,
say.
I was just saying I'm excited about the day. We have a new day that's been
Yes,
given to us. It's a beautiful day outside. There's always hope every time you get a new day. There's hope
yes,
for great things to happen. And so I'm in great expectation for great things to happen today.
yes, yes, yes.
Celebrate.
So everyone, we are just down to earth people. And when I realized I cut her off, I, at the break, apologized for that and wanted to give her the opportunity to say what she was going to say. And she went back into the topic. And so I did apologize. I want y'all to know that. Now we'll get back on topic.
Okay. Okay.
But I agree with you what you just said. And
Mhm.
the effects of violent games may vary significantly. Those effects that you were just previously mentioning,
Right.
they matter and may vary significantly depending on the individual child that's doing the gaming. Factors like their personality, if they're impressionable or if they are like mature beyond their years and can rationalize fiction from reality, their family environment, and their mental health can all play a role in how a child responds to the violent content in those games. Like, can they rationalize, you know, it's a game versus reality kind of thing? What do you
Right.
think?
Right. Well, I was reading earlier about this. There are good things to these video games, such as learning to multitask and strategies that they, if they're seeking out someone in a maze or something like that, it gives them strategies in order to do certain things. So, in those ways, it's good, but I don't know that the good really outweighs the bad. I'm really concerned about I'm just concerned about their effects. And even adults are playing video games. And I think primarily men are playing video games sometime all day. You start, and before you know it, hours have passed and you're deep into these games. And it's hard to break it. And sometimes it can become an addiction.
Yeah, I think it is an addiction. I hear you mention grown men, and I know some in their 50s, honestly, that game, and a lot of the men game with their boys. So it can become an addiction. I really do think it can. And that's a valid point that you are making there. While video games can contribute to aggressive behavior, in some children, they are unlikely to be the sole cause. The gaming can unlikely be the sole cause of that aggression. Family dynamics, social economic factors, exposure to real world violence, like what is home like, and other media, and often more significant in shape. Other media are often more significant in shaping their behavior. And I wonder, even these influences that we just mentioned that can cause children's behavior, I wonder if that can cause men's behavior and cause them to be domestically violent towards
Mm,
their interpartner, even. If they sit there all day and do this, they're all, hyped up, tensed up, and in that vibe. Could
right,
that transcend over into home life for even the grown men that
right.
do this all day or in the evening or whatever? Could it shape their mental influence as well?
Yeah, there's quite an influence with regard to these games, and I think about I had a child in my home who played video games, and you could hear him in there screaming and
Yeah,
yelling and stuff, and he's really ramped up. He was a teenager at the time, and he was really amped up, and I thought, all that, he was doing that. And I wonder that same kind of aggression, like you were talking about, that's inside that wants to come out in these men, could something like that be happening with them? Because I've seen it in a teenager. And
that's food for thought.
yeah, yeah. And there's a man that I know who's in his 60s, darn near 70, and he's a video gamer. He could sit there and do it for hours. He used to be in the army. And so he sits there and plays those games, and he tried to explain them to me. I'm thinking, not that interested. But he'll play them all day long because he's by himself. He lives by himself, doesn't really have a lot of friends, and there he is playing video games. I wonder what that does to him.
Right.
He's almost 70 years old playing these video
Yeah,
games.
yeah, I think that's just like some people like to movie binge or
Yeah.
TV binge, and they do the gaming. My grandson does athletics, so like his gaming is basketball games, and I hear him, oh man, oh, just like you said with the other kind of gaming, but he's all hyped up
Right.
behind if he lost the shot or didn't kick the ball or whatever sport it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
it's still aggression.
Yeah.
And um, it's, I guess that's maybe how they get in real life sports. I never really played
I don't
basketball or
know.
football, but that's how he reacts to excitement. And we'll be right back.
Okay.
All right, we are back with you.
Okay. So one of the things I was thinking about when you were talking about family structure, etc., sometimes these children may not have the supervision that they need or the guidance that they need, maybe to limit their screen time, because screen time in children can be detrimental, too much screen time. And
Mhm.
so if a child is left to their own devices, let's say they're a latchkey kid and they
Yes.
come home, and until mom gets home, there's 5 or 6 hours before she gets home. Maybe he does his homework or she, or maybe they don't.
Hmm.
But instead, they're on the video games, and so that's a lot of screen time for them. Sometimes they, I would imagine, have some escapism. Maybe things aren't going well in the home. Maybe the parents aren't getting along. And so maybe they lock themselves up in the room and absorb themselves into video game fantasy.
Right.
So, there's a lot of things that contribute to these types of things. And maybe these children, no one is seeing anything wrong with them being on it all the time. There's no one, like your grandson, for example, he has parents who are overseeing that kind of thing and kind of checking on him. But there are
Right.
some parents that don't think it's anything wrong with them. It's like a babysitter. Go in there and play your games. I don't want to be bothered with you. And then that's kind of how they get lost in that kind of thing.
Right, exactly. My daughter will even tell him to get off of it, at intervals, like
Right,
you've been on
right,
there long enough, it's time to go to bed, or you've been
right,
on there long enough, it's time to have dinner, or let's go somewhere. She'll grab him and take him wherever she's going, to
right.
get him away. But what do you think about that it may influence the behavior of grown men to cause them to be aggressive towards their wives or children? Do you think that could have the same effect? I do. But do you think so?
I can see a correlation between that, because the same aggression I saw in this child could be built up in a man. And let's say he's addicted, and the wife says, "Hey, babe, can you do this or that? Can you come in here for a minute? I'm busy playing my game."
Right.
You might be amped up in that game. I'll get with you in a minute or whatever. His aggression can be built up because he's so zeroed in on this game. He doesn't want to be disturbed or bothered. Or, the excessive, sometimes violence in the game can probably embed themselves in these men. And these are objects that they're shooting at and beating on in these games. Well, I
Yes.
think sometimes men who are abusers don't see their spouses or their significant others as people. They see them as objects, to
Yes.
take their aggression out on. If they're angry, they're doing it in the game. Why not do it in real life? There's kind of a blur between fantasy and reality, I think, for them too. Whatever they're feeling that they're building up on the inside, they'll take it out on who's closest to them. Not only the spouses, but sometimes their children.
Yeah, that's what I think. I have a friend who was telling me that um, in his 50s, who was telling me that he and another friend around the same age were gaming. And the wife came in and was trying to talk to her husband. And he was engrossed in the gaming with his partner that he verbally was abusive at that point to his
Mm.
wife. He didn't
Wow.
want to be disturbed. He didn't want to be bothered. He didn't want to hear what she had to say. And he verbally abused her in front of his friend. And the friend was like, whoa, man. The wife
Yeah.
started crying,
Yeah.
of course, because when your partner abuses you verbally or any kind of way, it cuts to the white meat. And then
Right.
to do it in front of other people
Yeah.
is double the pain. So my friend noticed that he hurt his wife by his reaction and actually said something to him. Man, that wasn't cool what you just did. You
Right.
know, you should have done X, Y, and Z and sent the friend, go talk to your wife. She's in the
That's-
room crying and blah, blah, blah. So maybe the game wasn't one of aggression, but he was so engrossed in gaming that it caused him to be aggressive towards his wife. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, when you're saying that, I'm thinking people kind of isolate in those games, and maybe it breeds antisocial behavior because you're not being social. You're not getting out talking to people, real people. You're not going places. You're not, let's say, taking your spouse on date nights. You're not going to, you're not going outside playing a little football or going shoot some hoops or go to the gym or something like that. It's a one-dimensional relationship that you're having with this machine, and you're not calling people on the phone. You're not being social. And so I hope I have the right term about antisocial, but you're not being social outside of that game. And that can affect your relationships, your friendships. Do you have friendships? Just like I told you, this guy that I know, he only had a couple of friends, me and one other person. And he's in the house by himself, just playing video games all day, which I think is a little odd, but I don't think he has any other social interactions. No girlfriend, no wife, no children, no anything. Just
Yes.
him and his games.
So I'm concluding from what you're saying that you do agree that if a person isolates and that they're somewhat antisocial, it does influence their behavior
Yes.
outside of home with other people, right? Because that's
Yes.
how I feel, that it can
Yes.
be influential in their inability to have communication and know how to even have communication or socialize with people outside of the gaming.
Right. Right. Just as we were saying on another show about texting instead of talking, it keeps you from verbally talking with people, connecting with people. And I think the same thing with the games. If you're so wrapped up in that and you never really come out, how do
Right.
you know how to even communicate with people on your job? You know, are you aggressive at work? Are you short with people at work when someone asks you to do something? Are you aggressive? Are you uh,
And most of the
nonverbal?
time, they're not even aware of that. You know that, Mickey
Right.
G?
Yeah.
Most people that are aggressive are not aware that they are. You know,
Yeah.
they think they're assertive. There is that thin line between assertiveness and aggressiveness, you know?
Right, right.
Yeah,
But not knowing how to deal with people, because you're
right.
dealing with characters all day. You're not dealing with flesh and blood people. And we really need to get back to that anyway, dealing with people and not just as objects.
Agreed.
Just let's do better.
All right. Okay. Well, you guys, we will be right back and get into this a little further. All right, all right. Well, many studies focus on short-term aggression or on small samples, making it difficult to draw broad conclusions. Longitudinal studies, which track children over time, often find less significant or no long-term impacts of violent gaming on real life violence, which I don't agree with, but I didn't do the research. They're saying basically there is no study that can actually say gaming causes real life violence.
Mhm. Okay, so where is it coming from? I'm
I
not
don't
saying that it does. I'm not really, disputing it, what they're saying it doesn't, but I don't know where all this aggression is coming from. What are the outside influences that are causing people to act this way? I don't
So
know.
when I was doing the research, it just said small samples. It didn't say where the samples of children came from. And it
Mhm.
just said that the small samples makes it difficult to draw broad conclusions
Yeah.
um, um, over time that confirms gaming actually causes real life violence. But the statistics didn't source the state of where the study came from, you know.
Mm,
So I don't
mhm,
know. I don't
mm.
know where they're getting their statistical data from.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're
Yeah.
right. Where
Yeah.
did the study come from? Who are the sample of kids? You know, when you
Yeah.
say draw broad conclusions, um, what does that mean, in fact, other than making factual statements? So the study that they did on a small sample of children, they couldn't come to any conclusion that
Mm.
it causes real life violence. And that might be marketing. You know, we don't
Mm.
want to say that this is happening because gaming is a lot of money and it's a big
Right.
time money maker. So that might be
Mm.
why it's so vague.
Yeah.
Yeah, or lack
Yeah.
of a better word.
Yeah. Sampling a small group of
Right.
children,
And where did they
instead of
come from? You know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's if they did a survey in each school or a certain grade, like let's say maybe middle school, junior high, if they did a survey in each school to see, that would give us probably a more accurate account of the issue, and you and I, we're talking from a lot of it is how we feel and what we
Yes.
think, as women, mothers, grandmothers,
Right. Just our
how we
opinion.
feel.
Yeah.
Right. Just our opinion about what we're seeing, what we think is happening. And
Hmm.
so, but I don't know where the aggression and all those things and the hurting people without remorse thing is coming from. Where is that coming from? What is the stimulus that causes that kind of behavior? I don't know. I'm
Right.
not sure.
And there was no that I know of, and there might be study uh, comparing children of the 70s and 80s before gaming to
Mm.
now as to whether or not there's less or more aggression in children due to gaming. So maybe that's why they said is the research is limited, you
Yeah,
know.
well,
Yeah.
I didn't see Donkey Kong as being that aggressive or,
And I didn't do a lot of gaming. I couldn't name not one game, to tell you the truth.
yeah,
We
yeah,
we just decided to talk about this because that's what kids and men
yeah,
do nowadays. And
yeah,
so we just thought it was a good topic to discuss. But
oh,
we
yeah,
do realize that not all video gaming is harmful.
yeah,
Just like Mickey just mentioned, donkey, whatever. Uh, Many video games, including some that involve violence, can promote skills like problem solving
right,
skills, teamwork skills, and social interaction skills.
right,
So, uh, I guess that is a positive aspect to it if you want to look at it. Like I mentioned, my grandson does mostly sports, right?
right,
So these games, they look like real basketball players, real human beings.
right,
Looks like he's just watching a game on TV. That's how real life they look, right?
yeah,
And but actually they're controlling the person with the ball, shooting the hoops or whatever.
yeah,
So playing that game could sharpen his basketball skills,
right,
by doing that game, or football skills or soccer skills, because actually the one with the ball is the one controlling the, what do they call them? Remote at that
yeah,
time. So I
yeah,
could see how that um, would promote skills. And then if you're playing against someone or with someone, I could see how that could build teamwork. So you know how to work with other people
yeah,
and not just solo all the time. And then since we know both that they talk to people on the other side of those games, like I hear him talking, hey man, and I'm like, who are you talking to? My friend, but because they have headsets on,
right,
right? So
mhm,
they actually interact uh, verbally with the other person that they're gaming with. So that helps their social skills. I could see that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I could see that because there's strategies in the basketball game. If you go around this person and you have plays that you set up, I guess they do those on those video games. I don't know, but certain things that you set up, strategies that you can probably use on the court when you actually get on the court. I can see advantages to that in that aspect.
Yeah.
Um, you did bring up something about your grandson talking to his friend.
Yes.
Now he's closely supervised. He's got good parents that watch out after him. But
Yes.
what about these children who are talking to random strangers through these video games? And what are these strangers saying to them? What are these strangers instructing them to say or do? Or I'm your friend, those kinds of things. That concerns me, that they can talk to people through the video games. And not all of them are people that they know, stranger
I
danger.
agree with you 100%, Mickey. And that is something that I brought up with my daughter. And she did say that she monitors that. And a lot of them are his cousins. He has a lot of cousins around the same age on his dad's side and friends at school. But we see all the time how, if you watch the crime shows and CSI and all that stuff, how predators may talk the kid into telling them, when do you get out of school? What time do you get home? Is there anybody at home with you when you get home? How do you get in the house? Where do you live? And that kind of thing. So parents that do let their kids game need to make sure that they relay to them. Do not ever give that information out to somebody that you just know virtually, that you have not met or know anything about. So that's a very, very important fact that you just made. And we'll get a little further into this when we return. All right. Thank you for returning. So, yes, Mickey, it's your turn, honey. Go right
Yeah.
ahead.
So as I was talking about the stranger danger aspect of these video games, you just really have to be careful because you're inviting people into your home, your
Yes.
virtual home, who could also end up in your natural home.
Yes, ma'am.
So, parents, be very aware of what your children are doing. If you can leave their door open while they're playing games, or have them in a common space like the family room, the den, something like that, where you can keep your eyes on them when you're cooking or doing something else, then you can really supervise them better. But having them closed up in their rooms and you don't know who they're talking to, what they're doing, what kind of games they're playing, and
Absolutely.
how do they get their hands on these games anyway? Are you buying them, or are you leaving the child to buy them? Some games have parental advisories on them. So are you monitoring the kinds of games that your children are watching? So all those things are very important because you only get one time to raise your children. And once they're at a certain age, they formed who they are. And so it'll be hard to pull back what you've allowed to set up in these children. And so it's important to monitor who they're talking to monitor what games they're playing and how long they're doing it. Because like I said, screen time in children, sometimes it does something to their growth, their development, and even their eyes. Having the eyes looking at this all the time, just like we've been told not to look at our cell phones all the time. Their eyes are looking at all these flashing images and things. And so these flashing images, I wonder too, does that do something with the brain? I'm not a doctor,
Of
I'm not a
course it
medical
does.
person.
Absolutely does.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So you being, formerly a nurse, I don't know if you've heard anything about that kind of thing. The
Yes.
flashing images, like with people with epilepsy,
Yes.
flashing images can trigger them. Is it epilepsy? It can trigger them.
Epilepsy. Yes.
Right, it could trigger them into epileptic seizure or something. So I wonder how these go into their mind. How this is affecting their mind or their eyes. These babies are still growing. Even if they're teenagers, they're not adults, and so they're still growing. And engage their imagination with a book. encourage them to look at a book or listen to an audiobook or something different besides constantly being on video games. That's kind of my concern with this whole thing with these children.
I agree. You gave me something to think about. And then I'll do the summary. I buy some of the games for my grandson because I'll ask him, what do you want for your birthday, Christmas, or whatever? And he'll say a game. I have never bought one that said parental advisory. And this is a question, since you used to game with your family. Will they sell those to children if it says parental advisory? Can they go in and buy it?
I do not know. I
That's
do not
interesting.
know. And even if they can buy music that has parental advisory, I don't know if anyone's stopping them from doing that. Because some things you could order online
That is a good
and
question.
be sent right to
Yeah,
your home. Yeah, yeah.
very good point. Well, in summary, while there's some evidence suggesting a link between violent video games and aggression, it is not definitive. And most experts agree that other factors play a more critical role in a child's behavior. And that is my disclaimer, because what we are telling you is just our opinion. And what we think about it, we are not experts, nor have we done research in gaming. Gab with Golden Bronze just talks about all kind of random topics, and this is one being mothers and grandmothers that we thought was interesting, like many of the other topics. So it's just strictly our opinion and what we think about it. But we do want you to think about it. If you have children that game, think about some of the things that we said today. That's why we bring it up. We want to drop some little gems, maybe raise some questions, maybe just have you pay a little more attention to some of the things that we think about on Gab with Golden Bronze. And we appreciate your stopping by to see us today. We hope that you come back tomorrow, and we are going to have the co-host take us on out of here.
All righty. All righty. Well, I'm glad we had this conversation today. I learned a lot as
Yeah.
well in sharing this information, and we hope that you all have learned a lot. So I want to let you know you can always see the Gab with Golden Bronze show on the DuPont TV network, brought to you by Village Global Network TV, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Be sure to tune in and we'll see you there. So let's do a little business here. Let's do a little housekeeping. As you know, Gab with Golden Bronze is a sponsor of Golden Swan Cadre. And I want to give you information as to how to donate to such a worthy cause. So let's say you're going on Chime. You enter $ Golden Swan Cadre. The G, S, and C in the name are all uppercase or capital letters. PayPal, you enter the Golden Swan Cadre at gmail.com. You may also go to our website, www.goldenswancadre.com. And we encourage you to look around in the website to see things that we're doing and things that we look forward to doing that we hope to do. And then you'll find the place to donate within our website. In social media, you may go to Instagram, visit the charity section, and find the official _ Golden Swan Cadre. Facebook is the same. Visit the charity section and find Golden Swan Cadre. So join us in making a positive impact today for these worthy women and this worthy cause.
Thank you, Mickey G. And I want to apologize to you again for cutting you off earlier. I did not hear you clearly. So, audience, forgive me for cutting off my co-host. That was by accident. All right. And we want you all to come back. Mickey G, I appreciate you very much. Everybody come back and see us on tomorrow. We'll be right here, same place, same time.
Look forward to it.